All right, we're live. Welcome in. I'm the real underscore G Warner, and this is a bit of an abbreviated episode, but going to do the Champions League for this week and then do a subsequent episode for Europa League and Europa Conference League, as there's a lot more games there, and I feel like they're a little bit more interesting. Plus, my back has decided that it doesn't want me to do anything upright for, I don't know, this whole past week. With that said, I'm going to start with tomorrow's Champions League game. So this is matches. I'm recording this on Tuesday, an hour before game time. So I'll spend the last part of this episode going through Atleti and Manchester United, and also Iax and Benfica. But the last remaining Champions League matches for tomorrow, since I don't have lineups for them, are Juve hosting Villarreal and Lille hosting Chelsea. I'll take the easier one first. Unfortunately for Lille, they lost 2-0 at Chelsea and with no away goals, they need to come back and somehow avenge that loss and do a lot more than that. They're currently a half a goal underdog at home, which says just about as much as people expect from them. Lille, unfortunately, have not had a very good season after winning Ligue last season, thanks to a really good defense. They went to Chelsea. They were in the match for a while, but ultimately gave up some bad goals. And the worst part is the goals is plural, that they gave up a second. I think if they left Chelsea losing 1-0, I think that would have covered the spread for me, but also would have put them in a much easier position to potentially force extra time. I really am concerned for Lille. So they could win this game 1-0, and that would be enough. Chelsea would kick the ball out of play, and the time would run out, and that would be great for Lille and Lille backers, even though Lille would be eliminated from the competition. But the problem for Lille is they're going to have to be on the front foot trying to play attacking football. I don't think any sort of situation where they sit back and defend will get them 2 goals against Chelsea. And they're pretty unlikely to get 2 goals against Chelsea anyway. So they're going to have to be on the front foot, and that's worrisome for me for a French league team, even with a good crowd support, as we saw a lot of them traveling to London for the first leg. I'm concerned, to say the least, about Lille's situation. And so I won't be backing them, especially after not being really happy about how they kind of stayed on the front foot, even after going behind 1-0 on the road in the first matchup, which seemed pretty immature or silly to me. Juve and Villarreal. This is Juve at home. They're a 1/2 of a goal favorite. So 1/2 goal favorite at home to Villarreal. All the juice on Villarreal, who've been playing a lot better in La Liga ever since a pretty slow start to the season. Gerard Moreno has been in and out of the lineup all season, so he hasn't really contributed much at all. But this game is all's on the line here. And so that's pretty cool. I think from where I sit with Juve, they had a good win against Sampdoria this weekend, though I'm not sure how impressive that is, and it got a little bit tighter than they wanted to until they got an add-on goal late. Juve have been dealing with a ton of injuries. They scored a first-minute goal and then sat back and tried to defend the rest of the way against Villarreal. I expect that sort of same strategy from Allegri because he's been doing that a lot. The thing is, with a 1-goal victory, that's enough for Villarreal to crash out of the competition, lose all your bets on Villarreal, all that sort of stuff. So what I think you'd expect, though, is for Unai Emery to come in to Turin and ultimately, or Torino, and do his best to try to install the same game plan that he used for Manchester United when they won Europa League last season to get them into this competition, which is really put everyone behind the ball and try to escape 0-0. Now, I don't know how great that is of a strategy against Juve, who definitely has plenty of offensive talent. Vlahovic is playing so well, et cetera, et cetera. But ultimately, I think Villarreal as a 1/2 goal underdog are of interest to me because a draw wins a full bet. So that means if you go to extra time, you're cashing. Juve could still move on. I think that means there'll be a lot of jittery and very conservative play towards the end of the match. So Juve will have to take a lead fairly early to make this thing stand up. And then Villarreal ultimately will be throwing everything forward and won't be certainly accepting a 1-goal loss in regulation because that will eliminate them. So maybe that add-on goal comes in, but that doesn't really come into play for the 1/2 goal underdog spread. So I'm interested in Villarreal, and we'll check in a little bit more, and you'll see me tweet about it if lineups make it worth a play tomorrow. But this is a little bit different than normally because I usually do this a lot earlier, but busy week with March Madness starting. And I'm going to go through the live lineups that have just dropped. And I'll start with Manchester United and Atletico Madrid. Currently, Manchester United is a quarter goal favorite at home after they were a quarter goal underdog on the road. And we're pretty fortunate to get a draw in the away fixture in Madrid, in the east side of Madrid. Atleti, I thought outplayed them. A late substitution, Elanga coming on to score, was unexpected to say the least, and I think bought him a start that weekend as well. Manchester United still have tons of problems, and when I look at their lineup, I mean, Ronaldo had the hat trick this weekend, which was awesome. Not if he had Tottenham, but it was awesome and shows that he's still an absolute menace in the air, still has the outside the box scoring ability. But I just feel like 3 goals for Manchester United in that match were unexpected, unlikely, low XG, like all that sort of stuff. I'm not sure that I really believe in who they are. And looking at their lineup, Bruno Fernandes, who had the weekend off, I think due to suspension, he's starting behind Cristiano Ronaldo with Sancho on the left. Elanga, as I said already, started on the right, maybe trying to keep that magic together. And then the McFred midfield is pretty defensive. And I mean, Fred has shown that he does have a little bit of a left foot on him. So maybe that's a little bit better. But no Pogba in this matchup, I think, because they're worried and they're going to want to really try to stay inside and be as defensive as possible, which does limit the offensive attack for Manchester United quite a bit, which I don't even know has been that impressive under Ralph Rangnick. It seems like his counter-pressing game doesn't fit this team. And so I'm looking to be against Manchester United if I can be. And currently Man United has to win this match to prevent me from, I guess, winning a portion of my bet, as a draw would only win half. Varane and Maguire as a starting center back pairing is the best that Manchester United has. Or have. Telles and Dalot are interesting on the wing backs, but ultimately are probably preferred. Though I guess Shaw would be preferred, but I think he's injured. De Gea, who has taken that first or that goalkeeping position and held on to it, is not a surprise. As for the Atleti side, who unfortunately, if you want to back Atleti, they've not been the great stalwart defense that they have been in the past. They are going 3 center backs, or I guess 3 defenders. Reinildo Mandava, a transfer from Lille, certainly feels more like a left back to me and played left back at Lille. Also got really fortunate not to get sent off this weekend. I'm using Google lineups for this, so that could be a mistake. Let me check that Atleti Twitter account, because that sometimes is a little bit better. A bunch of these soccer accounts just say everything. Yeah, so it looks like 3. I guess it's accurate. With Marcos Llorente on the right, who's a great wing back and certainly has a lot of attacking ability as well. Renan Lodi, same sort of story. Hector Herrera in the middle with Koke and De Paul as well in the midfield. And then up top, you have Griezmann and Joao Felix. Ultimately, don't see Suarez is on the bench, Correa is on the bench, who are 2 awesome goal-scoring options that I don't know that Manchester United really have at this point. In terms of the rest of that bench, I think Kondogbia would be a good defensive substitute if they need that, or probably would happen if they take a lead and they want to hold on to it, as well as Felipe, as potential, or Miguel Hermoso coming in as center backs. I mean, there's plenty of problems, I think, with both of these lineups, to say the least. But ultimately, only one is getting the underdog type of price here, and that's Atleti. And I think they're kind of catching Manchester United off of a maybe undeserved but victory. I mean, you can say what you want about an own goal, but ultimately 2-2, a late goal to win, giving up that much and those opportunities with a handball and all that sort of stuff to Tottenham was not great at home. It's nice that they don't have to travel. That's certainly an impact on Atleti. But ultimately, I think from where I sit with Atleti right now, I think that they have been getting results that Manchester United have not, and they don't have to win this game. They just have to draw. And if they do win, you get a full unit. If they draw, you get half. So that's of interest to me. I don't think that crowds in soccer make that big of a difference, except for, they matter, but I don't think they make as much of a difference as a lot of others do. So I'm interested in Atleti, and hopefully the Savic and Jose Miguel Jimenez center back pairing with Mandava somehow hanging on the wing. That, I guess, that's my point of pause, as well as John Oblak looking a little bit different than the wall that he was earlier this year. Moving to Benfica and Iax. Benfica, had to kind of struggled to qualify for this competition. Ended up knocking out PSV Eindhoven, another Dutch team, doing a really good job defensively, sitting back. And I think that that's what they're going to do today. Ajax at home certainly are a scary team to go against, considering they dominated the group stage so as much as they had or much as they did. They crushed Sporting, which was impressive, especially considering that's another Portuguese team. So there's been a lot of, I guess, inter-country duels here. But I don't know that Ajax was really that strong. I mean, Dortmund, we've seen their defensive issues, and it certainly was an upset for them to win the group. But ultimately, from where I sit with Aller, who scored 4 goals against Sporting, and clearly they have a lot of goal scoring talent. But the current number is Ajax giving a goal and a half, which is a big, big number for anyone to lay in this type of competition, especially with a 2-2 on aggregate that has now come to the all decisive second leg. From where I sit in terms of lineups, I think you could say that Ajax are stronger because they have a really good team that has been firing all cylinders, especially in this competition. But when you look at Benfica, I think I'm pretty interested in what they can do defensively because they're going to have to frustrate Ajax. That's going to be their first thing. Certainly, they could go out there and score a goal or 2 goals and really take the match by the horns. But I don't know on the road that's really going to be their strategy. I think when you look at their older defenders, but that we would know from the Premier League and Vertonghen and Otamendi, that's as stable as you can get on the interior from Portuguese league team, besides maybe Pepe. But I guess Porto is already playing in the Europa League. So from where I sit with Benfica, I'm a little more interested in what their attack would look like because you can't just let Ajax pressure you the whole matchup. Yaremchuk on the bench with who knows what's going on with him and Ukrainian stuff is not great. Lazaro, a former Mönchengladbach player. And so there's a lot on this bench that I think would be I mean, they're on the bench for a reason. But ultimately, from where I sit with Everton, who's a good scorer and showed that his talent for the Brazilian national team, I think in the Olympics. Weigl, who's been, I think, pretty reliable. It was a surprising move from Germany, I think, to Benfica. For where I sit, I'm pretty interested in Benfica trying to keep this tight, as they were really impressive to me. I mean, even making it to this stage out of their group, forcing Barcelona to finish third, outplay them, and I think deserve better than the results they even got against them. And from where I sit, Ajax, I just don't know that. I mean, they certainly can score goals, but this is a different level than the Dutch competition or Dutch league. And they don't have that really easy to pick apart defense like Borussia Dortmund that exists in this type of level or in this area. So I'm interested in Benfica as well. I know a lot less about the Portuguese league than I do about the others because I don't watch them and I don't really watch the Dutch league either. But I got to say, getting a goal and a half on the road when they're going to try to be as tight as possible is pretty interesting to me. But I guess I have to caveat that with if Benfica are down late, they're going to throw everything forward to try to advance. And that does leave them, unfortunately, at risk to a late goal. So that's something we need to consider. But that's going to take Ajax to get an early lead or a lead that they'll hold on to until the end. And so then they'd have to likely keep a clean sheet. So there's a lot of situations where Benfica cover the spread. Certainly Ajax isn't guaranteed to score that knock-on or add-on goal late. But just based on my experience with underdogs of over a goal in this sport, I feel like that is a really dangerous position to be. Is that enough to keep me off Benfica? Stay tuned to my Twitter account. You'll see if I post a play. But thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. The real _G Warner on Twitter if you got any questions.